Welcome, huge movie fanatic Nate, stopping on by. This time I'm coming your way to review a movie that came out in 1979, starring Hal Holbrook, by the name of Natural Enemies. It also stars, what the hell's her name? Was it Louise Fletcher, who Academy Award winner for her portrayal of Nurse Ratched in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. But the whole reason I saw this and I'm reviewing it is because, you know me, if you've seen my videos or whatnot, you know that I pretty much go to Blu-ray.com several times every day to just catch up on the latest news and, Blu-ray news and sales and stuff. And this is a title that's appeared on the sales page several times over the course of months and stuff. And the cover always was kind of intriguing. It looked like RCA Columbia Pictures home video cover with the red border. Turns out I'm pretty sure if my information is correct, they actually put out, RCA Columbia Pictures home video actually put out the first and possibly only home video version of this that existed until the recent Blu-ray release. So, I'd see that cover art with Hal Holbrook pointing the rifle, and it was always kind of intriguing because I like Hal Holbrook. I really love him in the Deliverance ripoff, which I think is better than Deliverance, by the name of Rituals. I really think Hal Holbrook did a hell of a great job in that movie. I haven't seen, admittedly, him in very much. Probably the first thing I saw him in, maybe early 2000s, was The Fog, and maybe second was Rituals. Maybe this is I saw him in, what was it called, Into the Wild or whatever. But as far as 70s movies, this might be the third. Well, The Fog wasn't 70s, but you know what I'm saying, late 70s, early 80s. This might be the third Hal Holbrook movie I saw from that era. And the whole reason I searched it out is because, the Blu-ray was down to $15 or whatever. I'm like, late 70s, Hal Holbrook, he's got a rifle, this might be kind of interesting. I thought maybe I'd just blind buy it, and then I'm like, what I usually do these days is search a title on YouTube, or if it's not on YouTube, see if I can see the whole thing online or something. Turns out there was this goofy site where someone had uploaded, and I'm pretty sure it's the Blu-ray version. So, I think it's this goofy hole-in-the-wall outfit. I don't know if it's a smaller company or a bigger company, but I want to say Fun City is who put out the Blu-ray release or whatever, and taken from a print held at the Library of Congress. Or is that the place? Is that the correct place? So it's one of these obscure titles that I think, like I say, I'm pretty sure had only been on home video the one time, possibly in the early 80s, by RCA Columbia Pictures home video, and maybe never put out on video again. So the Blu-ray release was kind of cool, and that's like the second freaking release of the film, possibly officially. So I was able to actually see the movie, and it's in, the Blu-ray version of the movie in its entirety for free online, and I actually watched it a couple times over the course of a week. And the first time after I watched it, I was going to buy it, and then I'm like, it's kind of depressing. Maybe I don't really need to, I don't necessarily see me watching this that often. And then, I was sick. You might be able to still tell. I was sick for the past week. And I found myself kind of coming out of the sickness feeling like, I would kind of want to watch it again. So I watched it again online, and I'm like, I probably don't necessarily need to own this, but it is kind of interesting. And I kind of went back and forth whether or not I even wanted to talk about it in a review because of the subject matter. The subject matter being kind of, I guess, more, I don't know, not so common or maybe negative subject matter. I'm like, well, that's all the more reason to talk about it because of the interesting subject matter of this movie, which is basically Hal Holbrook plays this, close to 50-year-old guy who now owns this publishing company, who's the editor / owner of this publishing company, and, successful and kind of at a, I don't know what, this midlife crisis point of his life where he's sick of everything. He has this marriage that's crap with Louise Fletcher, a former, frickin' woman who went nuts or whatever and just sulks and, at home and lives in bed all day and, kind of lets him screw her but doesn't contribute to the experience. And you briefly hear him talk about his three kids, one of which is none other than Elizabeth Berridge, and her first, I'm pretty sure this is her first film role, or role in a movie. And it should be said that, her role, just like the other two of, his kids, he's got like 3 kids in this movie. She's the daughter, he's got 2 sons. The kids' roles is very sparse. None of them have any dialogue. They just appear on screen for a few seconds, and then they basically just react in terror to the events of the hypothetical, events of what he has planned for the family. And but I was watching it, and it's like just an introduction of the kids, and she's eating breakfast or something. She's eating something, and can't remember when it was. Maybe when she reacted to the hypothetical plans he has for the day. When she reacted, I'm like, oh my God, that's Elizabeth Berridge. And I don't remember if I said it yet in this review, but she's credited as Beth Berridge in the closing credits. So very well might be her first movie role. No dialogue, couple seconds on screen. But even at the age she's in, which is probably, I don't know, 16 maybe, in this movie, she's already, well, I don't know if I can say that about someone who's 16, but she's already, you can tell she's already you-know-what, because she's got a tight shirt on and kind of a weird, clothing choice for just sitting at home eating dinner, like this button down with a vest, and but whatever. But yeah, Elizabeth Berridge, first role as a child victim of Hal Holbrook's thoughts and plans for the day. But the whole movie just revolves around, this is the day he wakes up, and this is the day he decides to basically go to work, come home, and like after dinner, or is it before? No, it's before dinner. When the wife calls him down to dinner, he's going to bring the trusty rifle and just basically, just take care of his family, and then turn it on himself and take care of himself. And that's kind of it's a rare movie premise, and it's really kind of interesting in that regard. So the whole movie is just him just going through his last day, and a lot of flashbacks to the crappy experiences and stuff that with his wife that led to, I guess, his decision to do what he wants to do. But after I saw it the first time, and I was kind of like pondering seeing it again, I was like, God, how do they fill 90 minutes of just like him doing whatever during that day? But they do, and it's mostly always interesting. And it's it's a back and forth between current day, what he's doing on his final day, and he talks a lot about the past and his wife, and not so much maybe about the kids, but a lot of just about why stuff sucks and why he's decided to do what he's decided to do, and obsessed about newspaper articles and TV stories about the same kind of thing, and family men having done the same thing and all this kind of stuff. So you might wonder, how could they film like 90 minutes of to keep it interesting? But they do, there's always someone different he's talking to get their opinion. And they got Mel Ferrer. It's kind of funny how, like, I haven't seen a lot of movies with Mel Ferrer, but if I do, it seems like they're always the same era, where it's late 70s, early 80s. But if you've seen him in a Midsummer Night Sex comedy, and it seems like whenever I see him in, he's like the same character, like this pompous, I know everything character. And if you've seen like a Midsummer Night Sex comedy, that might be the pinnacle of, like, they really have him just playing like Mr. Know-It-All kind of guy in that movie. But the way he talks, he could probably, if he would have been like, instead of like an actor, but maybe a salesman or something, he probably would have been the most successful salesman in the world, because the way he talks just like has such like authority, and like he could say anything and you just believe it, like so it was fun. It was fun that he's in this movie. I can't remember what the hell his name is. I was gonna say Mel Ferrer, but I think that's the guy from Eaten Alive. Well, I can't even remember. Was I calling this guy Mel Ferrer? I can't remember what the hell I was saying. Oh, his name might be Jose Ferrer. I don't know. I always forget his goddamn name. It might be Jose Ferrer, but he's the guy who's the dad of the guy who got killed in RoboCop. The cocaine whores and stuff. But that's actually the son of the guy I'm talking. I think it's Jose Ferrer, but he has a couple scenes in this movie, and it's just the Jose Ferrer greatness. He's not double Ferrer. I just stuttered, and that's fun. Even that woman from who's like I think she was like born '70. That woman who'd go on to be in Stargate. She's like German or Austrian or something. She's in this movie briefly. Like I say, she was probably born 70 years old, and just like the curious case of whoever the hell this woman is who never ages at all, and just born old or whatever, and maybe died young, who the hell knows, but she's in it briefly. But yeah, it's just it's all about his last day and the stuff he kind of does. He on his lunch break he goes to a brothel and screws five. I was going to say six. 5 women. Goes in the hot tub, and then they don't say how many times they do it, but it's kind of indicated that it's more than once and stuff. What's funny about these going to the brothel and screwing the 5 women is he doesn't just screw them. He kind of has like a 5-on-1. Almost like a psychiatrist session, and it's just like, God, it's probably a lot cheaper to screw and have a psychiatrist session with 5 women than it is to just go and have, just nothing but a psychiatrist session with 5 different psychiatrists, so you might as well go see some hot young women and screw them at the same time, because it's going to probably be less than just simply 5 psychiatrists. But yeah, for some reason he picks 5 women to go in the hot tub with and screw. I don't know. I can't imagine that nearly 50 is going to be able to screw all 5 and finish in a lunch hour. I mean, shit, I couldn't even do that when I was 30. Not that I've ever tried, but anywho, I guess he doesn't have to start and finish 5 times or whatever. But maybe that was the goal. I don't know if that's possible at his age or any age, but. Just 90 minutes on this guy's. I gotta tell you, like, if this movie's kind of scary, and it's kind of one of the reasons why just like, yeah, I don't know, this is just so like maybe dark and negative that I don't even want to have this physically in my house, just because it's just so like, I generally go in for a kind of dark, depressing stuff, but this is almost just. It's even really kind of amazing that this got made. Apparently, the guy who wrote, directed, and actually did edit this. That's kind of rare. The guy who wrote and directed and edited this was like this famous, or not famous per se, but this successful movie trailer editor. So I don't know if I can only assume that's how he. I don't know if this would have been his first movie he wrote and directed. Edited or whatever, but yeah, that's one of the things I read doing a little bit of research about this movie. I don't find the style of the movie to be particularly amazing. It's got a lot of close-ups that I think are a little too close-up. I'm not the biggest close-up on people's faces kind of a guy. I don't think the movie's made particularly amazingly, but it's just made almost in the most simple way you could possibly make it or whatever, and it is kind of always interesting when you see like a director edit the movie, because that's not that common, and honestly I'm really surprised that it's not more common, because I know for sure that all the stuff, short films and feature film I've done and stuff, it's like it just never would have occurred to me. I mean, it's just like it's your baby. It's like being a painter and giving someone else the paintbrush. Here, you paint it. Like the fact that so many directors have other people edit their stuff just is really, really weird to me. But I guess there's some of us who are editors and some of us who are not or whatever. But it's always interesting to me when a director does something else, like that guy who, directed, is it Peter Hyams or whatever? He's like this, he's his own cinematographer, the guy who did Time Cop in 2010, the year we made contact, and End of Days and all this stuff. Like, he's his own director of photography, which is probably even more uncommon than a director being an editor. But yeah, this movie is just 90 minutes about this Hal Holbrook just bitching about his life, bitching about his kids, bitching about his wife, and then the events that are going to lead to him just the last day in the life of this character. And honestly, I found it to be like the closer, because knowing his plans, and then like early on, Louise Fletcher calls him and she says stuff like, oh, I thought we'd take the kids out for Chinese, dinner tonight, and all this kind of stuff that's like, uh-oh, this ain't in line with, his plan to come home and, when he's called down to dinner to take care of business, And then like later on she finds the rifle loaded and like he doesn't feel like he's acting necessarily any different on his last day, but the wife is picking up on all this stuff and she's getting uneasy, more and more uneasy as the day goes on, and the Jose Ferrer character is catching, up. I mean, because Hal Holbrook character is asking everyone he comes across, what do you think about all these stories of men just taking care of their families and then themselves? If you just talk about that all day, you're going to start to raise some eyebrows. So it's funny how, he's so obsessed with it and doesn't understand how obsessed necessarily he is with it. And he's like, everyone he talks to nearly that day, he's raising all these red flags and this and that. And honestly, it was kind of interesting. This is one of those movies that might be a little better on the first viewing than it can ever be ever again, because it was interesting as the movie winded down to see what was going to happen. And frankly, I'm not going to spoil what happens, but I will say I guess I was a little disappointed in what ended up happening. Like it seemed like maybe it was going to go in another direction. I thought that would have kind of been interesting, but I don't want to say too much or whatever, but yeah, at the end of the day, like the ending, it just seemed like I guess I was preparing for a different ending, and then when it ended that way, I felt like, and especially the way it ended that way, I felt was done in such a cheap, like, we don't want to bother filming it, so we'll just kind of, yeah, so I guess that'll more or less be my review of this movie, which I've seen, I guess, in the past week 2 times online on whoever, was kind enough to rip the Blu-ray and put that on that goofy website. Maybe I'll link it in the description, maybe I won't. But if you just search the movie, you might find the site I saw it on twice. But I guess I can go as high, late 70s Hal Holbrook. It's mostly like narrated by Hal Holbrook. It's like you're in his mind, you're hearing his thoughts. Oh, what I was going to say before was, the movie is so, because you're in Hal Holbrook's head, and he's got this one I don't think he really mentions when he decided to do this or whatever, or how long he's been wanting to do this. But it's like he's just so hell-bent on doing this, finishing his family and then himself, that like everything he says, obviously, and all the bitching and moaning and stuff is just in support of, obviously, it's his plan that day to wake up, go to work, come home and do it. So, he's just so single-mindedly driven to do this one. It's almost like the movie kind of scares me, because, I mean, I don't have any, I just feel like I just don't want to be driven to do something, and it's just like it's kind of like a demonic movie in that way, where it's almost like, that's why it's strange to me that it ever really even got made and distributed at all, because it's like just kind of a take care of your family and yourself movie in a strange way, and I just don't really want that, that on disc in my house. Honestly, it's just like it's so, yeah, I'd hate for. God, and just imagine if this movie like made more people do that than would otherwise would have done it. And I mean, you kind of have a, to put a movie like this into the world, you kind of, I don't know what, kind of gonna possibly have a maybe guilty conscience, or you might be guilty of doing something or whatever. But I guess that'll pretty much do it for my review. I guess I can go as high as 3 stars out of 4 stars for Natural Enemies, and I guess the title refers to more or less Hal Holbrook and his wife, the deteriorating, condition of their relationship over the years, and on all outward appearances would indicate, they live in this fancy smancy house, which I guess they say is built in the early 1800s. Like, I don't know who'd want a house that fucking old, but and got this wife and 3 kids, good job and all this stuff, but he's gonna, all outward appearances would suggest that he's got it made and happy and this and that, but he's gonna come home and take care of his family and then himself. So kind of a unique movie, probably something I won't ever necessarily own in case, unless of course it disappears from the internet and I feel like seeing it again. But yeah, it definitely has that, once again, being a child of the mid to late 70s and growing up in the 80s and stuff, it's obviously got that cool 1979 charm, all those old vehicles, the ambulance, and what little kind of goofy music there is in the movie. And I can only assume it's really an old house they're filmed in and stuff. And it's definitely got that late 70s charm and stuff. But I was gonna buy it, but then by the time the movie was over, I was just like, in particular with the way it ended, I'm just like, yeah, it's a little. I don't need to own. I just feel weird buying something like that, so I've decided not to own it or whatever. So I guess that'll pretty much be it for my review. Elizabeth Barrage's first movie with no lines, as a daughter who just gets, I guess, destroyed in Hal Holbrook's mind and possibly beyond or whatever. But I guess that'll pretty much do it for my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks so much for watching. And as always, we'll catch you on the next video.